I was the dishwasher they laughed at, but my heart-stopping talent turned the tables. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The kitchen was buzzing, pots clanging, and the air thick with the smell of burnt garlic. I stood in the corner, masked by towering piles of dishes. The laughter shot through me like a bolt of lightning. "Look at him," they jeered, noses turned up at my stained apron and trembling hands. I felt so small, invisible yet painfully aware of every glance. The clatter around me only heightened my sense of isolation. My world was a whirlpool of dirty plates and greasy silverware. In that moment I was nothing but a forgotten shadow, drowning under the weight of their mockery. I longed for them to see me. The real me. Not the dishwasher, not the laughter, but the dreams I held inside me. I grew up in a family that could never catch a break. My mother worked 2 jobs, her hands raw from toil. I often helped care for my younger sister, Mia. She had dreams of her own, big ones. She needed me to be strong. But how could I be strong when I felt like a failure? The stairs haunted me. Just a few more shifts. I'd whispered to myself. Each midnight run would lead to something greater. But every shift I worked felt more like a prison. I could taste the bitterness in my mouth, could feel the tears stinging my eyes. I wanted out, but the weight of responsibility chained me to that sink. And then that night it happened. Something strange, something I still can't explain. The sound of glass shattering jolted me from my thoughts. I turned and there it was. It felt like a moment ripped straight from a movie, time slowed as the manager yelled, "Get out of the way. It's gonna explode," he screamed. My heart raced. My hands trembled as I dropped a handful of plates, the shards dancing on the water-soaked floor. Just seconds. That was all it took for everything to change. Out of nowhere, I felt a surge of energy coursing through me as the floor turned to chaos. I wasn't just a dishwasher then. I was something more, something powerful. Suddenly, amidst the fear and confusion, I found my voice. I began to sing. It was raw, electric, and unexpected. The air shifted. Silence fell over the room. All eyes turned to me, shock etched on their faces. I wasn't invisible anymore. I sang like my life depended on it. But how? Why? The walls whispered secrets. The rhythm of the night pulsed wildly beneath the laughter I had endured. What was happening to me? Was I truly unlocking something hidden? Something that could turn this bleak place into a theater of dreams? Hey! Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The silence enveloped the kitchen like a thick fog, the weight of my voice hanging in the air, uncharacteristic yet undeniable. I felt the oddity of my circumstance challenge every notion I had about myself. And just like that, the laughter faded into the background, replaced by something more powerful. Was it respect? Curiosity? But the moment slipped away almost as quickly as it had happened. The chaos resumed, our manager's frustrated shouts breaking the spell. "Get back to work," he yelled, and reality crashed down around me like the shattered plates that littered the floor. My heart thudded against my ribs, and with it came an ache that had remained dormant for too long. I glanced toward the staff members who had once ridiculed me. Their momentary awe was replaced by a mix of disbelief and disdain, the laughter slowly creeping back. They turned back to their tasks, their whispers now laden with scorn once more. "Just a fluke," I heard one say, and an inexplicable sadness withered my spirit. A shadow fell across me, and when I looked up it was Sophia, the line cook who often wielded her own brand of sarcasm. "You think you're a singer now?" she teased, but her eyes twinkled with something deeper. Was it admiration or pity? I couldn't tell. As the evening wore on, the tension in the kitchen thickened. I lost myself in the rhythm of scrubbing plates, my hands submerged in soapy water that felt colder than before. I couldn't shake the feeling that I had crossed an unseen line, one that not only drew me nearer to my dreams but also distanced me from the very world I had clung to. When my shift finally ended, I slipped into the blistering night air, the weight of the world settling on my shoulders once again. My heart still thumped with the echoes of my performance, but the feeling quickly faded into despair. I felt like a jigsaw piece that had been forced into a puzzle where it no longer fits. I walked home. I passed familiar sights, dilapidated buildings, flickering streetlights, and the empty park where Mia often played. My stomach twisted at the thought of her laughter, a sound that felt more distant now, overshadowed by the harsh reality of our lives. She was still waiting for her dreams too, and I knew I needed to protect her from this path, the one that had shackled me to fleeting moments of hope. Yet, the fear of not being able to support her gnawed like an insatiable hunger. That's when I saw Hema Man on the corner, his fingers trembling as he strummed a weathered guitar. He was surrounded by a handful of people, their faces alight with the kind of joy I had scarcely felt. The music flowed effortlessly from him, raw and enchanting, almost reminiscent of my own moment just hours ago. His eyes caught mine as I hesitated, a flash of recognition passing between us. I stepped closer, feeling the magnetic pull of his melody. It brought with it a sense of comfort I hadn't expected. "Hey, you have a good voice," he said, flashing a genuine smile. "You should come sing with me." I faltered, caught off guard by the warmth of his words. I wanted to tell him that I was just a dishwasher, a shadow in my own life. Instead, I heard myself say, "Can you teach me?" Before he could respond, a shout broke through the atmosphere. "Hey you!" A rough voice sliced through the night air, a figure emerging from the darkness. It was Jake, one of the servers from the restaurant, a smirk spreading across his face. "You think you can just ditch your responsibilities? Don't waste your time, man. You're better off with the dishes." A rush of humiliation clawed at me, the kind that made my stomach churn. The bystanders dispersed, leaving me quaking under the weight of his disdain. I felt the energy of hope seep away, replaced with the cold reality I had fought to escape. But the musician stepped in front of me, a shield against the relentless world. "Don't listen to him. Remember, your voice has power. You have to use it." But could I? Jake's words echoed like a mantra in my mind, and doubts crowding in like a storm. As I retreated into the shadows of the night, I felt as though I were standing at a precipice, the fear of failure threatening to pull me over. And just when I thought I couldn't bear the weight of my own conflict any longer, my phone buzzed in my pocket. It was a message from Mia. A picture of the two of us taken years ago at the park, her smile radiant and carefree. Beneath it she had written, "Don't forget who you are. Love you." Those words lit a flicker of warmth within me, igniting a spark. But as I stood there, battling the burgeoning fire inside, a new image surged to my Minda face lurking in the shadows, eyes glinting with a challenge. Was it possible that someone else was watching, someone who would do anything to steal my newfound dreams? Time would tell, but for now I was lost, standing at the intersection of fear and hope, ready to either take a leap or fall into the depths once more. The cacophony of life in the city was an unrelenting tide, crashing against the shores of my thoughts as I turned the key in my front door. The familiar screw and creak made way for the comforting scent of home, a hodgepodge of Mia's favorite takeout lingering alongside the remnants of the past. I paused for a second, heart hammering, letting the warmth envelop me before stepping over the threshold. Mia was sprawled on the couch, a treasure trove of colorful crayons scattered around her. She was attempting to recreate her favorite cartoon character, a wild concoction of colors bursting onto the paper. "Look, Dad!" she shouted, her eyes wide with enthusiasm. "It's Tilly the unicorn. She's flying." The simple joy radiating from her was a balm to my anxious heart. "That's amazing, honey. She looks even better than the real one." I knelt beside her, fighting to absorb the laughter that echoed from her lips. In this fleeting moment, I felt the conflicting weight of love and desperation, love for her and desperation to carry our burdens with grace. "Can I sing for you, Dad?" she asked, her little voice a hopeful plea. I hesitated, the echoes of my own aspirations still echoing painfully against the turmoil that had erupted in my life. But how could I say no to her bright blue eyes, filled with innocence and trust? "Of course, Mia. Let's hear it." Her rendition of a popular children's song filled the space like sunlight breaking through clouds. "If only you could keep that joy, my little rainbow," I thought bitterly. I could see how fiercely she invested into her dreams without knowing the fear of them being snatched away. As I watched her sing, a flicker of inspiration surfaced in the depths of my heart. What if I clung to that same unfiltered joy? It swept through me like a gust of wind, compelling and refreshing. An idea sparked. What if I held a small performance for her? It could be a way to reclaim my dreams, a small echo of the courage that had begun its rumble in my chest. Perhaps it would show her that laughter, love, and courage could lift up our souls, even if only for a moment. How about a special concert for you this weekend? I proposed, attempting to gauge her reaction. Her face brightened as if I had offered her the world. Really? She asked, her wide grin lighting the room. Can we do it in the park? Please. Absolutely, I replied, suddenly feeling lighter. We'll have a picnic and sing together. The laughter that followed felt like a balm to my relentless self-doubt. I didn't have to completely surrender to fear. I could borrow just a slice of happiness, if only to light up her eyes that night. As I lay in bed, putting the pieces together of what had sparked inside me, a message flickered on my phone. It was the musician from earlier, his name flashing on the screen like a promise. I think you're worth exploring your talent further. Meet me tomorrow at the park at 6. A rush of excitement surged through me, quickly followed by waves of uncertainty. I toggled between a sense of thrill and anxiety. Every bone in my body wanted to say yes, but a lurking voice in the back of my mind cautioned against it. What if I fail? What if Jake is right? But wasn't this exactly the kind of risk I needed to take? The deeper voice within, the one that had been too quiet for too long, whispered that I deserved to step into the light, if only for MIA's sake. The day's morning broke. I resolved to face the chaos that lay before me, both in the responsibilities I couldn't escape and the dreams I dared not abandon. Later, as I mingled with the lunchtime crowd in the cafe filled with bustling energy, a sense of kinship enveloped me when I caught sight of Sophia. Her smile was hesitant but genuine as she approached. So you're really going to sing, are you? She teased lightly, but there was no malice behind it. Thinking about it, I admitted, surprised at my own honesty. Maybe you'll join a guy at the park tomorrow. She took a step back, narrowing her eyes playfully. Don't tell me you're about to become a karaoke star? You're not as smooth as you think you are. The banter afforded me a momentary escape, until it was abruptly shattered by Jake's snickering laugh that echoed from the back. What an absolute joke. Can you believe this, wannabe? He scoffed loud enough for the room to hear, the laughter following him like a dark cloud. Just then, a soft voice broke through. Leave him alone, Jake. Maybe one day you'll understand the courage it takes to put yourself out there. I turned to see it was the musician, his presence like a shield against the relentless guffaws. He locked eyes with me, a quiet understanding passing between us. A feeling close to gratitude flared in my chest as I left the cafe. A new determination simmered within me. Each step felt heavy with possibility, yet behind my stride lingered the relentless echo of doubt. What if I truly was setting myself up for another fall? The world drew out before me, crafting confusing pathways. Beneath the flickering signs, every face I encountered felt like another judgment, an underpinning truth weighing heavily within my heart. As I approached my building, the anticipation of tomorrow surged back into me, stirring questions that gnawed at my resolve. But just as I reached for the door, a figure slipped between the alleyway shadows, someone familiar yet cloaked in enigma. It was the figure from my past, the eyes filled with unfulfilled promises, trailing unseen. Were they watching me, willing to sabotage the fragile dreams I dared to nurture? My heart raced, the tether to hope tightening in uncertainty. Just as the door swung closed behind me, I felt the lingering question settle into my bones. Who was it that really held the threads of my fate? And would I be able to reclaim control over my narrative before darkness seeped back into the corners of my life? The dawn unfurled like a canvas streaked with shades of orange and pink, promising the kind of day filled with potential I hadn't experienced in ages. I jolted awake, a warmth coiling in my gut at the thought of the day ahead. Today was not just another ordinary Saturday, it was a chance to stitch together fragments of hope and dreams, transforming them into something tangible. MIA's laughter rippled through the apartment as she careened into the living room. Her enthusiasm was a beacon, cutting through the chaos of uncertainty that still clung to my spirit. Dad, are we really going to the park? You're going to sing? She was wide-eyed with irresistible excitement, her small hands gripping a makeshift Microphonia toy hairbrush. Absolutely. We have a whole concert planned, I replied, my voice tinged with a mixture of nerves and excitement. Her radiant smile ignited a warmth in my heart, but it was veiled by an all-consuming dread. What if I messed this up? As we prepared for our picnic, the hours stretched endlessly, the anticipation swelling within me. Each moment spent assembling our Fiesta collection of MIA's favorite foods felt like I was packing my dreams into a woven basket, desperately hoping they would not tumble out along the way. When we finally arrived at the park, the air buzzed with the laughter of children and soft melodies wafting from distant speakers. A blanket of grass unfolded before us, wrapping itself around our little patch of joy. It felt surreal, almost too idyllic. A nagging thought crept into the edges of my mind, echoing the voices of doubt and those who had diminished my worth in the past. As I set up our area, I could see Sophia in the distance, sitting on a bench with a guitar perched on her knee. Her eyes sparkled when they met mine, a flash of confidence flashing through the uncertainty that hung in the air. "Looks like your fan club is growing," she called, her smile warm. "Mind if I join you?" "Not at all," I shouted back, my spirits lifting slightly. Mia bounced up and down at the prospect of shared joy, and for the first time that day, my nerves quieted a touch. There was a comforting familiarity in Sophia, a woman who bore scars no different from my own, a kinship of survival, that we spread our blanket and shared stories as the sun climbed high, a raucous anchor to our impromptu gathering, laughter weaving through our conversations. Beneath the surface, however, I sensed an impending storm. Just as I began to feel at ease, a familiar voice pulled me from my reverie. A sharp-edged laugh ricocheted through the park. Jake was strutting down the path, flanked by his gaggle of friends, their laughter cutting through the air like razor blades. "Look at this," he called out, pointing at me with mockery that twisted my stomach. "The wannabe rock star has decided he's getting a little concert when he probably can't sing to save his life." A wave of humiliation washed over me, the remnants of Jake's disdain coiling tightly around my chest. I could feel Mia shrinking beside me, the colorful crayons of her joy dimming slightly. But in the midst of their jeers, Sophia stood tall, unwavering. "You know what it takes to put yourself out there? Maybe one day you'll understand the difference between bravery and cowardice, Jake." His sneer faltered for just a moment, a flicker of disbelief crossing his face. Within that stirring moment, I could feel a pulse of adrenaline sparking inside me, igniting the dormant flame I had nearly extinguished. I could hear Mia whispering softly, "You got this, Dad." With a final glance in Jake's direction, I decided I would never let his poisonous words plant roots in my soul again. It was time to reclaim my narrative. Clearing my throat, I grasped the toy hairbrush, suddenly refusing to let fear dictate my fate. "Let's do this, Mia. Time for a concert." My voice carried through the park, strong and unwavering, an invitation for the world to listen. As I began to sing, the world quieted around me. The notes spilled from my lips, a combination of joy mingled with trepidation. The melody painted shades of freedom I thought were lost to me. I glimpsed Mia's eyes sparkling with pride. Her cheer was infectious, fueling every note I delivered into the universe. But just when the magic reached its zenith, a dissonance shot through the harmony as a figure silhouette from the shadows drew my attention. The mysterious presence stood at the edge of my vision, watching me with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. Suddenly, the song caught in my throat, the rhythm faltering. I caught a glimpse of the familiar eyes, hollow yet filled with haunting memories. The figure stepped forward into the light, a presence I recognized all too well, emerging from the past I had worked so hard to escape. A whisper of disbelief hung in my throat. How could they be here? The laughter around me faded as they approached, unwelcome memories intertwining with my melody, stitching themselves into the fabric of this moment, threatening to unravel everything I had begun to reclaim. "Surprised to see me?" they smirked, a smile that carved deeper fissures into my resolve. The floor beneath me felt unstable, and in that moment, everything hung in the balance. Me concert, my dreams, my very futurito be dictated by choices I had yet to confront. The laughter faded into a brittle silence, as if the world around us had been swallowed by shadows. I almost choked on my next note. My heart thudded heavily in my chest, drowning under a wave of nostalgia and regret. There, standing before me, was the ghost of my pasta specter in my present, carrying with them a weight of memories I had desperately tried to bury. "Lena," I uttered, the name hanging in the air, both a whisper and a plea. It felt as if the ground had opened up beneath my feet. The laughter faded, replaced by murmurs of confusion and concern from nearby picnickers. I could feel their eyes darting between us, curiosity tinged with pity. "Did you really think you could sing your way out of it all?" she taunted, her voice silky yet coated with venom. "Playing daddy in the park? It's cute, really, but we both know you'll never be more than what you were." The biting words wrapped around me like a cold embrace. For a split second, I felt like the boy who had scrubbed plates and served tables, drowned in insecurity while striving for a dream that felt perpetually out of reach. The laughter from Jake and his friends echoed in my memory, just as relentless as Lena's darkened gaze. Mia, sensing the shift in atmosphere, squeezed my hand tightly, her little fingers trembling. "Dad?" Her voice was barely a whisper, filled with a blend of confusion and concern. It was a sound I never wanted her to hear. But even as fear laced through my veins, I glanced at Sophia, who stood beside me, an unwavering force. Her chin lifted defiantly as she met Lena's icy stare. "You don't get to dictate who he is, or who he can become," Sophia said, her voice steady and fierce, like a shield against the storm threatening to engulf me. "You think you can inspire change?" Lena shot back. "Look how easily you fell apart last time. You think singing will save you? You'll come right back to where you started." "I know," I breathed, feeling the fragile threads of my own narrative weaving back in to protect me. "I'm not that person anymore." But beneath my words lurked a fear I couldn't shake, a fear that maybe Lena was right. What if this was all just a facade? A fleeting moment to drown out the despair simmering beneath my skin. "Does it hurt that I'm here?" Lena sneered, her expression momentarily shifting as she sensed my hesitation. "You worked so hard to escape, yet here I am, waiting to remind you of what you can never outrun." Desperation clawed at me as I fought against her words, now mingling with the laughter of children at play. "You don't know the strength I've found." My voice rose, fueled by the warmth of Mia beside me and guided by the embers of bravery ignited by Sophia's defiance. Mia, noticing the tremor in my voice, clasped my hand tighter, gazing up at me with wide eyes. "Dad, sing. Please." Her plea sliced through the tension, filling the air with an ache of vulnerability that pierced through the gloom. I looked down at her, seeing the unwavering trust radiating from her. Was I really going to let Lena's presence strip that away? The world was watching, judging, yet I realized the true audience stood before me, daughter, my reason to rise above the noise. Taking a deep breath, I steadied myself, channeling the fear into a melody that sprang for the raw, trembling note that danced at the precipice of courage. The words flowed out, laced with hope and heartache. Each note was a declaration, a reclamation of everything I'd fought for, cutting through the remnants of doubt coiling around me as if on cue. The haunting pain in my chest transformed into something electric, threading its way through the park like a revelation. I poured every scar, every shattered fragment of loss into that song, every moment of laughter interwoven with tears, allowing the notes to build a bridge between my past and my present. And for a moment, just a fleeting moment, Lena's sneer faltered, the ice in her gaze cracking slightly as the resonance of my voice enveloped us both. Her facade broke, a flicker of something I couldn't define passing over her features. Recognition, maybe, or a moment of doubt. But then, as if she could feel the tide turning, her defiance surged back. "This is just a phase, you know that. You'll fall again. You always do." And with that she turned away, her shadow retreating against the sun-kissed grass, leaving behind the fractured echoes of haunting memories. I kept singing, the ritual of transformation brushing my fingertips and arms in waves of freedom and strength, but her words lingered in the air like an unwelcome perfume. The piercing truth was that the battle was far from over. It loomed just out of sight, a storm gathering strength on the horizon. When the final note rang out, echoing into the afternoon sky, I glanced nervously at the crowd. The tension had broken, and applause filled the air like confetti, but the fluttering terror in my chest hinted that my journey was only just beginning. Relief washed over me, but it carried with it the understanding that shadows do not easily fade. Mia beamed at me, her eyes shining brighter than the sun as she jumped around in celebration. Sophia's warm hand on my shoulder was grounding, a reminder of the simple magic that binds us together in moments of despair. "See, I told you, you've got this," she encouraged, her enthusiasm drowning out the remnants of doubt. Yet as the clamor settled, the world felt eerily still, a ticking clock echoing with unspoken words. As I began to pack away our things, Jake lingered nearby, teasing remarks falling silent on his lips, the laughter replaced by a deliberative smirk, perhaps mocking, perhaps intrigued. But it was with a lingering weight that I dared to take a final look over my shoulder, only to find that Lena was gone, swallowed by the depths of the park. A chilling sense of unease settled around my shoulders. I had faced her, but in that glance I realized it wasn't just their laughter I had to fear. It was the haunting shadows of my past that would persist, cloaked in unexpected corners. "Hey!" Jake's voice broke through the stillness once more, slicing through my thoughts. "Looks like you finally got some bravery. But you know what? People like you never change. You may sing now, but we'll see when you fall apart again." His words stung, but as I stood there, the weight of Emi's joy, Sophia's unwavering support wrapped around me like a shield. I held my head high, knowing the battle for my heart was far from won or lost. I turned back to Mia and Sophia, cherishing the hope flickering in my chest, but unable to shake the unease that had begun to fester. And in that moment, I felt the ground shifting beneath me, once Maureen unwilling dread, whispering softly that this was only the calm before the storm. What did Jake truly know? What lay beyond the surface of normalcy I had fought so hard to maintain? But for now, with the sun bearing witness, I took a step forward, ready for the fight ahead, however unpredictable it might be. The remnants of the day echoed with the promise of tomorrow, but lurking beneath was the tension that had only just begun to unfold. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the park, the swelling crowd began to disperse, laughter fading into the distant hum of evening chatter. Mia ran ahead, collecting the remnants of joy like fallen treasures, discarded wrappers from snacks and stray balls rolling down the grassy hill. For now, the shadows that had threatened to swallow me felt distant, overshadowed by the pulsing energy of hope ignited in this small moment. Yet, the moment my eyes met Sophia's across the blanket we had used, a delicate chime of uncertainty struck me, forcing its way into my heart. Her smile faltered as if she sensed the shift within me. "You did amazing today," she whispered, but the sun's retreat was mirrored in her gaze, a fleeting shadow of worry passing where pride had once resided. I don't know if I'll be enough," I confessed, the weight of Jake's words hovering unanswered. The applause felt like a distant echo now, truth melding with doubts that crept back in like unwanted guests. Despite my momentous display of strength, part of me still felt tethered to Lena's specter, a part of my past that was reluctant to let go. Sophia shook her head, determination igniting in her eyes. "You've come so far. Today was just the beginning. Don't let Jake or anyone else convince you otherwise." I admired her resolve, that flicker of light she carried in her Solon ember wanting to unfurl into flames. Mia bounded back, her arm full of nature's trappings, beaming at both of us. "Look what I found!" she exclaimed, placing everything before us like a magician unveiling the final act. A peacock feather, a smooth stone, and a half-consumed cupcake smeared with frosting. "What a treasure! And you know what?" I replied, trying to match her enthusiasm. "You found them because you believed in the magic around you." I watched as her joy lit up the frail corners of my heart, that light fighting against the shadows that had become all too familiar. The evening faded into twilight, the colors melding into deeper tones, but just as my spirits began to rise once more, a figure caught my eye at the park's edge, one I hadn't seen before. A woman stood there, her silhouette shrouded in the last remnants of sunlight, scanning the crowd with an intensity that sent a shiver through me. "Who's that?" Sophia asked, following my gaze. "I have no idea," I murmured, unease pooling in my stomach like a stone. "But she's staring right at us." The woman stepped forward, her features becoming clearer as the last glimmers of day illuminated her face. Familiarity clawed at the back of my mind, a shadow of recognition playing tricks on my heart. I could feel myself starting to recoil, the fear that enveloped me instantly reconnecting with long-lost reminders of days I had tried to escape. Then she caught my eye, and for a split second I felt the ground beneath me shift again. "Mia, stay close," I whispered, suddenly feeling protective. I stepped slightly in front of her, instinctively warding off possible threats. The instinct developed from years of disquiet mingling with an urge to shield my daughter from the encroaching darkness. "Is this what you want?" The stranger spoke, her voice low and melodic yet laced with an urgency that caught me off guard. "To sing while the past circles like vultures above." Mia's head tilted, a question dancing on her innocent features. "Who are you?" she asked, her eyes unblinking as they stared at the unexpected newcomer. I am someone who knows, she replied, a flicker of something in her eyes almost like a sorrowful memory. And I'm here to remind you that there are more shadows coming. What do you mean? I stepped forward, courage compelled by the palpable energy building in the air. I felt Sophia's hand in mine, a steadying force as anxiety coiled around my chest. The woman took a solid breath, her composure undeniable, but there was something fractured beneath it like the surface of glass, just waiting to shatter. Your past is catching up with you, and the storm isn't just metaphorical. It's real and it's dangerous. You need to know. Her voice dropped to a whisper, glancing at Mia to ensure she wasn't overhearing. You may not be the only one being hunted. Hunted? By who? The words tasted foreign in my mouth, a mix of concern, confusion, and something dangerously close to fear. You're not who they think you are. There are others who remember the truth about you, about what you've done. Panic began to swirl. The laughter faded and the crowd felt distant. I could only focus on the woman whose presence had morphed into a palpable tension. What truth? What do you know? I'll explain everything, but right now you need to get Mia to safety. Tonight isn't over and I'll be watching you. With that, she turned, melting back into the silhouette of the evening as swiftly as she had appeared, leaving me with a quivering heart and a storm of unfathomable questions. Dad? Mia's fragile voice severed through my reverie. Who was she? I looked down, the swirling emotions battling within me, the shadows of my own past creeping back in, gnawing at the edges of my newfound hope. I couldn't let this moment crush the determination that still flickered within me, yet an unsettling grip threatened to seize my heart. Just someone I need to think about later, I managed, forcing a smile for her sake. But as we gathered our things and began to walk away from the remnants of laughter and joy, dread settled into my bones. The laughter of today felt barbaric, almost mocking against the backdrop of the shadows that had begun to converge upon our lives. What if the past wasn't finished with me yet? What if it was only just beginning? With each step, the weight of both hope and fear grew heavier, thrumming in my chest like a string vibrating, caught between two realities. And as nightfall settled in, I knew the real test lay ahead, promised in the darkness that twisted around me. The battle for my heart-me-worth had only just begun. As night enveloped the park, the shadows deepened, and they felt sharper, more insistent, as if the darkness itself were a living thing pressing down on me. My heart raced as I led Mia and Sophia away from the last flickers of laughter and light. The woman's unsettling words reverberated in my mind, clinging like tendrils of smoke that refused to dissipate. You're not who they think you are. Can we get ice cream? Mia's voice sliced through the thick atmosphere, her innocence a soothing balm, however momentary, against the rising dread swelling within me. I turned to her, the light of her excitement a stark contrast to the shadows that loomed. Sure, sweetie. Ice cream sounds perfect, I replied, forcing levity into my tone, hiding the turmoil churning behind my eyes. I squeezed Sophia's hand for reassurance. She gave me a gentle nod, her unwavering resolve a tether amidst the burgeoning chaos. As we approached the small ice cream stand, illuminated against the encroaching night, I caught a glimpse of our reflections in the glass window, three figures, united, yet drifting farther than ever from certainty. Mia's face lit up, her wide eyes drinking in the array of flavors, her laughter cascading like a rushing river. Yet every giggle seemed to thud against the weight of uncertainty that pressed down on us. Sophia ordered for Mia, while I struggled to focus on anything but the ominous truth lurking just beyond my perception. What truth, though? I couldn't fathom it, yet I felt its proximity like a shadow creeping closer with each passing minute. Here you go, Mia, Sophia said, handing a cone towering with vibrant swirls of colorful ice cream and sprinkled with happiness. Enjoy every bite. But as Mia's elation broke free, something in my chest twisted painfully. I wanted to bask in the joy spilling from my daughter, but the past flickered in my peripheral vision with every heartbeat. The woman's face played repeatedly in my mind, her mournful expression echoing inside me. The collector of truths was somewhere nearby, lurking in the fringes of my life, a chilling reminder that freedom was never fully guaranteed. As we wandered away from the ice cream stand, Mia delightfully slurping her treat, I felt Sophia drawing closer to me, her voice barely more than a whisper. You know we need to talk about what just happened, right? Soon, I replied, desperate for time to process. Let's just keep her safe for now. But the understanding in Sophia's eyes told me she wouldn't let this go. Neither would I. I stood watching as the last rays of light faded behind the trees, the horizon turning sinister in its sepulchral darkness. Shadows danced beneath the street lamps, and the chill of night began to bite at the edges of our laughter. "That we could sit for a moment on that bench," Sophia suggested, her eyes flicking to a nearby clearing where an old bench awaited, bathed in faint light. Reluctantly, I nodded, my heart still thrumming as if something dreadful awaited us as we sat. I forced a smile for Emma's sake, but I felt the weight of everything building inside me, an oppressive cacophony clamoring for release. I had fought for my purpose, evaded darkness, and yet the battle wasn't over. Memories of Lena haunted me, her laughter now replaced with echoes of despair, taunting me as if I were still that dishwasher. The truth of my past twisted within me, a vine seeking to choke out the light I desperately yearned to survive. "Mia, sweetie, how about a game?" I suggested, desperate to shift the tension, to draw us back into innocence for just a moment longer. "How about we each pretend to be a different flavor of ice cream?" "Okay," she chirped, instantly buoyed by the idea. "I want to be bubblegum." "It'll be chocolate brownie," Sophia added, her spirit lifting with the still childish whimsy. "Then I guess it'll be the missing flavor. The mysterious one," I exclaimed with playful flair, wrapping my arms around Mia and pulling her close. In her giggles for a heartbeat, I managed to steal back a sliver of joy. The shadows retreated, if only momentarily. But then the woman's admonition echoed in my mind. There are more shadows coming. Beneath my laughter, I felt the tendrils of dread creeping back, tightening their hold on my heart. Then, as if answering an unspoken prayer, a figure stepped out from the shadowy backdrop of trees, unmistakably the woman, stepping forward with intensity that commanded our attention. My breath hitched in my throat, and Mia, delightedly engrossed in our game, had not noticed. "Mia, stay close," I barked, instinctively rising to shield her. "Wait," the woman called softly, her voice almost frail amidst the thickness of tension. "There's something I need to give you. What more do you want?" I retorted, my protective instinct igniting like a wildfire. "You've already unsettled our evening." But she held up a hand, palms open, revealing a small, delicate locket gleaming in the moonlight. "This is for you. It's a key to understanding." "I don't want anything from you," I shouted, feeling like a man on the precipice of madness. "Mia, come here," I urged, pulling her against me as the woman took a step closer, desperation clouding her eyes. "No. Stay away. You need to trust me," she implored, her voice breaking. "The truth inside this locket holds the answers, but they'll also lead to even darker revelations." As I hesitated, staring at the locket, the world around us turned hollow. What if taking it meant revealing horrors I had tried so hard to bury? What if it destroyed the fragile world I had so carefully reconstructed? Mia peered over my shoulder, innocent and confused. "Dad, are you okay?" The warmth of her voice contrasted sharply with the icy grip of anxiety, and I realized I stood at a crossroads. Would I succumb to the shadows, forever haunted by my past, or would I reach for understanding, even if it brought on a storm? With heavy hands I reached out, caught in the weight of her gaze and my own gathering despair. And just like that, as the locket lay suspended in the moonlight, I felt an irrevocable shift, a choice that would reverberate through every moment thereafter. And with that thought, I knew that whatever lay ahead, the shadows were no longer merely lurking. They were rushing towards me, and this time there would be no turning back. The locket felt impossibly cold against my fingertips, a harbinger of the truth I both yearned for and dreaded. My heart thrummed a frantic rhythm, echoing the conflict shaping the night, a push and pull between the unknown and the desperate need to shield Mia from whatever darkness lay ahead. "Mia, come here," I croaked, voice thick with trepidation as I pulled her closer. Sophia's grip tightened around my arm, a silent reminder of the sanctuary we'd built around ourselves, however fragile it might be. "What are you waiting for?" the woman pressed, desperation etching deeper lines into her face. "You have to understand. Your past," she hesitated, swallowing hard. "It's intertwined with something far greater than you realize. There's power in knowledge, even if it's bitter." "And what makes you think I want anything to do with that power?" I shot back, glancing down at Mia, whose wide eyes still flickered with confusion. She picked at the bright sprinkles adorning her ice cream, none the wiser to the tempest rising just a heartbeat away. It's not about wanting, the woman replied, voice trembling slightly, but about needing to break free. You can't outrun your past. It will find you. Always. A gust of wind swirled around us, carrying with it an uncanny chill that prickled my skin. I had been dodging specters for far too long, flinging myself through life like a hot knife through soft butter, hoping to slice away my past until it no longer cast shadows. But shadows, it seemed, were insatiable. They grew and thickened in the absence of light, choking everything in their path. Mia, please, I continued, my voice faltering, stay close to me. I don't want you to be afraid. I'm not afraid, Dad. She chirped back, reaching for a tiny dribble of ice cream with her tongue, her mood seeming immune to the building storm. Maybe you should be, I whispered under my breath, still debating whether to accept the locket. It dangled just out of reach, tantalizing and terrifying. The woman's eyes seemed to bore into me, alive with urgency. You don't understand what you're doing, do you? Actually, I do, she replied, faint hope glimmering in her voice. This moment is pivotal. But it's only the beginning of your journey. The truth buried inside the locket will guide you. But it needs to be opened. You must be prepared for what follows, though every instinct in my body screamed at me to reject her, to flee, but the anchored weight of her words clamored for attention. Was my resolve strong enough to journey down the path laid out before me? What if understanding meant dragging both Sophia and Mia along into the treacherous unknown, where whispers of darkness had festered too long? A noise broke through the tension, a faint sound, almost like the rustling of leaves, but it grew louder, and my attention snapped back to the shadows around us. There was someone else nearby, a rippling figure just beyond the treeline. Do you hear that? I snapped, stepping in front of Mia, who looked up at me with worry etched across her features. The woman's eyes shifted quickly to the growing darkness. We don't have much time, she urged. You must decide, accept the locket or continue running. What about Sophia? What about Mia? I gestured towards them, grounding myself in the reality of my role as protector. My heart raced, uncertainty crawling beneath my skin. Your girls can't be your shield against your past, she replied. If you want to protect them, truly protect them, you have to confront it. Trust me, there is nothing worse than living a lifetime unknowing. With a slow, trembling exhale, I reached out, the locket feeling like a lifeline or a noose. The sharp edges of reality blurred, and darkness pooled around my feet like treacle, seeping into my thoughts. An ominous figure stepped out of the shadows, a silhouette framed by the murky undergrowth, and I felt my breath hitch. It was a man, tall, with piercing eyes that glinted in the faint light. Recognition coursed through me, igniting dread in my veins. Mia, stay back, I grabbed her hand, inching backward instinctively, a primal fear rising to the surface. Mia. Listen to your father, the woman said, her expression suddenly apprehensive, caught between urgency and terror. This is part of it. The truth will find you no matter where you run. What do you want? I shouted, trying to mask the tremor in my voice, attempting to corral my rising panic. The man stepped forward, and in that moment time tentatively paused. I want to help you, his voice was smooth, dripping with a harsh charisma that made my blood run cold. But you're too far gone. You need to understand that the past isn't just behind you, it's here. Among you. As he spoke, every shadow seemed to stretch longer, dark tendrils curling toward us, hungry and suffocating. My grip on Mia tightened, the locket's presence growing heavier, almost alive with malicious intent. This isn't over, the woman murmured, fading slightly, but I was transfixed by the man in front of me. Choose wisely. The consequences will ripple beyond your comprehension. Mia whimpered softly, and I could feel the world teetering on a knife's edge. I had sought clarity and safety for so long, but the narrations of the past were rushing forth like a relentless tide. And as the shadows deepened, deep in the recesses of my mind, a solitary thought pierced through the cacophony. The truth may lie hidden, but to find it might cost more than I ever imagined. The brightness of the ice cream parlor's neon lights felt like a distant star drowning in the void surrounding us. I clutched Mia tighter, battling the feeling that the safety zone I had crafted was crumbling around us. The man's presence was palpable, practically pulsating with an energy that felt both alluring and perilous. Help! I echoed incredulously, glancing back at the woman who had introduced this chaos into our lives. Help us from what? You? From yourself, the man replied, tilting his head slightly as if he were studying an intriguing specimen. You've buried the past deep, but it's festering, And the longer you wait to face it, the worse it gets. Trust me, I've seen it happen time and again. Emma's frightened little eyes flitted back and forth between the stranger and me, fear turning her ice cream into a melting puddle between her fingers. Dad? She whispered, uncertainty lacing her youthful voice. Everything will be all right, sweetheart, I managed to say, though a dull ache knotted in my stomach. I flashed a nervous smile, hoping to reinforce my words, but the thin veneer of calm was cracking under the pressure. Just stay close to me. The woman stepped forward, inches from the man. You have to understand. This isn't just about facing the past. It's about breaking the cycle of hurt. It's about change. What change? I spat, the words slipping out like venom. What if it just leads to something worse? Her eyes softened, glistening with unspilled tears. Sometimes there's beauty in the brokenness. You can't protect Mia from everything, not even from the truth. The tension in the air thickened, and for a moment, all I could hear was the whisper of my heart against the imperfections of the night. The world outside felt unbearably loud, the laughter of the parlor's patrons ringing hollow against my senses. I didn't want to break anything. I wanted to fix it, to keep my family knitted together in happiness. I don't need your help, I countered defiantly, more for my own sake than anyone else's. But the man's grin widened, unfurling an unsettling kind of confidence. Of course you do, he said with a honeyed drawl. You can't fight what you don't understand. But I could help you understand. As his allure seeped into the space around us, I felt something shift inside. Something dark and ancient stirred, whispering promises of power that could shatter the chains of my past. But at what cost? I could see the tremor of fear in Emma's posture, the way her small frame tightened against mine, and in that moment, a flickering ember of clarity ignited. I couldn't allow that darkness to seep into her. Into us. I won't let you touch her, I said firmly, rage swelling in my chest. A desperate act to shield my daughter from the lurking sinister undercurrents. She was my priority, this little girl who clung to me like I was her world. That I wouldn't dream of it, he replied. But you search for safety by hiding away from knowledge. You can only sever the ties of the past if you understand the bonds they create. You're leaving her vulnerable. Stop, I warned, my words cracking like broken glass as the weight of his insinuation bore down on me. I knew he was right in one regard. My fear had been passed on, a potency I had unintentionally woven into the fabric of our lives. But how could I let my guard down now? In the struggle cresting within me, I felt the locket burn a reminder against my palm. Choosing to unravel the mysteries wrapped inside its cold metal would mean exposing my daughter to a fear she was blissfully unaware of. Mia, let's go, I said, pulling her gently but firmly, hoping to lead her away from this confrontation. But the woman blocked our path, her determination ignited. No, you can't run anymore, she exclaimed, desperation coloring her tone. Face it, or it will destroy you both. What do you know about me? I countered, hot anger igniting my cheeks. I know you, she replied, voice steady. You're running from secrets that hold you captive. But the more you resist, the tighter those chains will bind you. Suddenly the ground beneath me felt like it was collapsing. The man's eyes glinted with something akin to satisfaction or recognition of my weakness. I offer you knowledge, but if you're unwilling to grab hold, then maybe, Mia, I shouted, stepping protectively in front of her, horrified at the implication that surfaced like a tidal wave of terror. What if she too had been caught in the web of darkness I so desperately fought against? A sudden flash of movement caught my attention. Sophia's silhouette emerged from the distance, drawn closer by the chaos. Relief washed over me momentarily, but it quickly turned to dread. What would she think witnessing this confrontation? Mia, go to Sophia. Now, I commanded, not looking back. Time seemed to stretch as I watched my daughter flee. Confusion and terror etched on her face. Mia, wait, I called out, but it was too late. The man grinned victoriously. I felt with every second that passed. Muffled voices from the parlor grew distant, drowning in the currents of fear and uncertainty. With uncertainty coursing through me like poison, I summoned every ounce of bravery I had left. No more running, I declared, echoing the woman's sentiments, though my voice shook with the reality of what that could entail. I will decipher the truth, but I do it on my own terms. But even as the words left my lips, I was painfully aware of the cost. and my heart thudded with dread at the thought of what lay unburied, what other heart-stopping revelations would emerge beneath the surface. And just then, an eerie calm flooded the air, a foreboding silence like a curtain falling before the moment of inevitable chaos. Something was about to happen, something I could neither appease nor predict as the shadows elongated around me. I wondered, had I opened a door that could never be closed? The night had draped its heavy cloak around us, thick with a tension that pierced through even the warmest moments. When the woman had approached, it felt like something ancient had awakened, shifting the balance of everything I had fought for. Fear and determination warred within me, and just as I steadied myself to confront the encroaching darkness, the weight of my choice hovered palpably in the air. "Mia!" I shouted again, my heart clenching at the thought of her separating from me, her safety wavering between the shadows and the flickering light of a past I sought to escape. "Get behind Sophia! Now!" My voice sliced through the oppressive silence, but my pulse raced as I turned back to the man, who stood there with an unsettling calm, watching me like a predator relishing the hunt. "You're making a mistake," he spoke smoothly, the threat hanging between us like a taut string ready to snap. "Knowledge is power, and you're letting your fear dictate your decisions. How much longer will you allow your past to chain you?" It was a question I'd asked myself countless times, folding into the same spiral of memories that both terrified and defined me. Drumming my fingers against the locket, I felt its cool surface, a reminder of the key that could unlock a truth I desperately needed to confront even while fearing its weight. "Everything I've done has been for Mia," I spat back, defiance clawing through the anguish I felt as I imagined the world I had built for her. "I won't let you twist that against me. But your past isn't merely a story, it's a living, breathing entity. You've tried to bury it, but it will come alive unless you choose to understand it first," he replied, a sinister earnestness lacing his tone behind me. I could feel Sophia's presence, a steady anchor amidst the storm. "We can face this together," she said, her voice firm yet soft. "We're with you, and we won't let you fall into the darkness." "Mia," I called softly, my heart breaking at the sight of her clinging to Sophia, wide-eyed and trembling. "You're safe. You'll always be safe." And just like that, a fleeting moment wrapped us in warmth. Her innocence was the single light slicing through a daunting night. At that moment I could picture her laughter, the image of her joy reaffirming why I had to confront this. The man continued to gauge me, his curiosity insatiable, swirling around us like fog. "What will it take to get you to open that locket, Nathan? Are you willing to confront the ghosts of your past? Or will you flinch away into the shadows yet again?" "Enough!" I shouted out, desperation rippling through my words. "You think your provocations mean something? You think I'm afraid of you? This is about more than fear, it's about love." In that instant, truth shimmered against the suffocating darkness. Love for my daughter, for the family I was determined to protect. This was a power far stronger than any shadow lurking in the past. The locket pulsed softly against my palm, a promise intertwined with the past I had to face head-on. The fear that gripped me only cemented the resolve forming deep within. As though sensing my shift in energy, the man's expression morphed into something sharper, harder. "Then let's see how far that love will take you. Open it." The command was a brittle thread, snapping wide open all the horrors I had buried beneath layers of determination and hope. I hesitated for a heartbeat, the weight of choice pulling taut against the invisible strings tying me to my past. And then it happened, something inside me ignited, light bursting through the shadows, forcing its way through the tangled brambles of fear. "You may be right, but I won't hide. I'll choose to unveil the darkness to find the clarity I need. And I'll do that for Mia." With trembling fingers, I breached the locket's clasp. Inside was a photo, a snapshot of days gone by. An image that pulled the rug from under meth laughter of my younger self alongside a mother who looked just like Mia. Her face, surprised yet beautiful, filled the space with ghosts of joy and sadness. The man stepped forward, sensing the shift, a look of triumph painting his features. "There it is. Memories stitched together, binding secrets long buried. It's your choice, embrace them, or allow them to poison your future." "Stop!" I shouted out, urgency threaded with grief. I felt the shadows encroaching, reaching for me as if to pull me back into darkness. "These moments don't define me. I'll no longer be a prisoner of fear. These memories may shape me, but they don't own me." Courage surged onward, growing fiercer with every word. "Do you hear me, Mia?" I shouted back towards her. You are the light. You are my strength. Mia squeezed Sophia's hand tighter, eyes glistening with an unspoken understanding. I believe in you, Dad, she called out, and in that flickering moment trust cascaded between us. The shadows recoiled as I looked straight into the man's eyes, the power of my choice settling into the very marrow of my being. You want to unearth my past? Fine. But I'll reclaim who I am from it, not be consumed by it. Then step forward, he replied, the challenge glinting in his eyes like a blade. Delve into your darkness, and let's see if you even survive the truth. And as I stepped forward into that waiting void, my heart felt weightless. This journey wasn't just about facing ghosts. It was about creating a future where those shadows dared not follow. In that moment, beneath the weight of all that I had concealed, I discovered something beautiful. I wasn't alone in my fight. I felt the warmth of MIA's trust, the steel of Sophia's support, merging into a power that shielded me from the darkness threatening to engulf me. Let's go, I declared, strengthening my resolve. Together. And just like that, the shadows enveloped us. But instead of suffocating, they threaded their way around me like an anchor, returning me to the very heart of what it meant to feel alive. A melodic rebirth forged from love, courage, and acceptance. No more flinching. No more shadows. Only light. And as I emerged, I knew this journey had only begun, but fear would no longer be my compass. The last words echoed in my mind, resonating through the darkness. I will become my own light. And I stepped forward, ready to embrace whatever truth lay ahead, knowing I was fiercely alive, and nothing would ever strip my love and my power away again.